Today is Thursday, May 8th. We're talking about how the Federal Reserve is reacting to an ongoing trade war, as a new deal is expected to be announced today. Also, new protests at Columbia University that put students in a face-off with security, and why President Trump designated today as Victory Day in the U.S. Plus, what we know about Trump's controversial new pick for Surgeon General, how a family used technology to bring a victim into the courtroom, and what's changing on Netflix for the first time in more than a decade. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Today, President Trump is set to announce his first big trade agreement since rolling out tariffs against trading partners. He teased it on social media, saying it was a deal with a big and highly respected country. News outlets like the Wall Street Journal are reporting that it's with the United Kingdom. Administration officials have said they're also in close talks with India and Japan. The president is getting ready to go to the Middle East next week, and the Treasury Secretary is meeting with diplomats from China this weekend. Still, with so much trade up in the air, the Federal Reserve is staying in wait-and-see mode. The Fed decided to leave its key interest rate at a range between 4.25% and 4.5% for a third straight meeting. It noted how the labor market was still solid now, but that there's still a risk of higher unemployment and higher inflation to come. So overall, Fed Chair Jerome Powell says it's mostly just that there's a lot of uncertainty right now. Or as he told reporters yesterday, quote, "It's really not at all clear what it is we should do." The Fed meets again next month. Once again, New York police officers were called to remove protesters at Columbia University. The demonstrators had staged a protest over the war in Gaza. Videos online show campus security officers trying to keep protesters away from the library, with both sides shoving to try and force the other group aside. Many protesters occupied the school's main library and hung Palestinian flags and other banners on bookshelves. Some also wrote "Columbia will burn" across framed pictures. And since they refused to leave when asked, they were accused of trespassing. So the NYPD was called, and dozens of people were arrested. Then last night, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he would be reviewing their visa statuses. It comes as the Trump administration has cracked down on international students who participated in previous protests that were deemed anti-Semitic. In fact, just yesterday, the Justice Department announced it brought hate crime charges against a man who was repeatedly arrested at protests over the last year, including one near Columbia. He's accused of assaulting Jewish people. Meanwhile, Columbia has been negotiating with the Trump administration. The university says it's working to combat prejudice on campus, while civil rights groups accuse administrators of giving in to government intrusions on academic freedom. Either way, the negotiations continue. Another legal scramble is happening over immigration cases in the U.S. This time, American authorities are apparently wanting to deport some migrants to Libya, despite them not being from there and the North African nation being notorious for human rights violations. But a federal judge yesterday told the Trump administration it cannot do that without giving migrants a chance to challenge their cases in court. So far, the White House just says it won't comment on diplomatic communications with other governments. But some Trump advisors did criticize the judge for overstepping. The administration has said in the past that it's been in talks with countries to take in people being deported from the U.S. And as we've told you already, Venezuelans have been sent to El Salvador. The U.S. has also deported people to Panama and Costa Rica who were not citizens of those countries. A 3-day ceasefire has come into effect in Ukraine. Sort of. When Russia rejected America's last ceasefire offer, it instead proposed this one to coincide with the anniversary of the end of World War II in Europe, known as Victory Day. So it's a self-declared pause that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called a theatrical show. Either way, Russia's planning to hold its traditional military parade for Victory Day tomorrow. Other celebrations are happening across Europe today. Meanwhile, President Trump says Victory Day needs to be celebrated here in the U.S., so he issued a proclamation designating today as the day for Americans to mark the end of World War II. He explained by saying the Americans did more than any other country to produce a victory, so the U.S. deserves the credit. Besides renaming May 8th as Victory Day for World War II, Trump also said he wants to rename November 11th as Victory Day for World War I. But November 11th is already named Veterans Day. And since it's a federal holiday in the U.S., only Congress can change that one. Black smoke billowed over the Vatican yesterday, and that means the first day of the conclave ended without a new pope. The voting cardinals took just one vote yesterday, but no candidate received more than 2/3 of the vote. So they're back at the Sistine Chapel today, hoping to agree on a successor to Pope Francis. White smoke is probably not too far off, though, since most modern conclaves have typically lasted 2 or 3 days. Already, thousands of people have been gathered outside, and many more are expected to rush over once a new church leader is selected, hoping to get a glimpse of his first blessing as Pope. To be continued. More news still coming up, but first, thanks to our sponsor. We all know spring comes with more than just flowers. For some people, it can also come with sneezing, itchy eyes, and congestion. But why suffer when relief is just a click away? ZocDoc has you covered. Whether you need a nearby allergist, a primary care physician for an initial checkup, a pediatrician for your little ones, or a telehealth option for quick care, ZocDoc can help you get allergy relief fast so you can beat sneezing season and make spring a little less sniffly. If you're not already familiar, ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty. You can even filter for doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and are highly rated by verified patients. I check ZocDoc whenever I need a new doctor. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. President Trump decided to change up his nominee for Surgeon General just 1 day before she was set to appear for her confirmation hearing. He decided to nominate Dr. Casey Means instead. She's a functional holistic medicine doctor and wellness influencer who's close to Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She co-wrote the book Good Energy about chronic illness with her brother, who was also one of Kennedy's top advisors. The Means siblings have questioned some traditional medical expertise and vaccine mandates. And now Trump says Dr. Means has the potential to be one of the finest surgeon generals in United States history, though critics say she doesn't have the typical government or clinical experience suitable for the job. And they've raised concerns about conflicts of interest, since Means makes money from dietary supplements, creams, teas, and other products sponsored on her social media accounts. Meanwhile, RFK Jr. announced a new American database on autism. To put it together, the National Institutes of Health will tap into Medicare and Medicaid data. Specifically, the database will draw from insurance claims, medical records, and data from wearable tech like smartwatches. For now, the platform will focus on research around the root causes of autism and how medical and behavioral interventions have worked or not. But the health department says it will eventually build out the database to also share information on chronic illnesses and their costs. Critics have brought up privacy concerns, though, and want more information about how data will be used and whether people can opt out. So far, the government has not responded to those questions, but says the project will comply with privacy laws. Law enforcement officials have taken down one of the largest fentanyl trafficking operations in American history. The U.S. Justice Department says authorities seized millions of fentanyl pills and fentanyl powder, as well as other drugs, weapons, and cash. It was all apparently part of a widespread operation spanning several states, and 16 people were arrested. The DOJ says one of them is a Mexican cartel leader who will now face charges in U.S. courts. Separately, the FBI says hundreds of alleged sex predators were arrested in a nationwide sweep, and 115 children were rescued. In announcing the crackdown, Attorney General Pam Bondi said, "This is just the start, and anyone else who tries to harm children will face the full weight of the law." With the help of artificial intelligence, a court heard from an Arizona man who was shot and killed in an act of road rage. The victim's family members used voice recordings, videos, and pictures of him to recreate his likeness with AI. His sister wrote the words the AI version read in court based on how forgiving she knew her brother to be. And it's believed to be the first use of AI to deliver a victim impact statement at a sentencing hearing. The shooter had already been found guilty by a jury, and now he's going to spend 10.5 years in prison on manslaughter charges. The judge in the case praised the family's use of AI, and the family said it was healing. But there are some ethical concerns from people who worry using AI in this way might not always be consistent with a victim's wishes. Either way, many experts say they expect AI to become more common in the legal system. Of course, artificial intelligence is still popping up in a lot of other contexts. This week, an Apple executive said the tech giant plans to add AI-powered search options to its Safari browser. It's seen as a pretty big threat to Google's dominant search business, which has been the default on Safari, though Google is also giving AI-generated answers in its search results now. Meanwhile, Netflix debuted a new AI-powered search tool this week. So users will be able to use natural, detailed phrases like, I want something scary, but not too scary, and maybe a little bit funny. And they'll actually be able to get suggestions back. The feature is set to roll out this week for iOS users in beta. Netflix also announced a new short-form video feed for mobile users, kind of like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or Instagram Reels. And it revealed a home screen redesign for TVs, its first serious makeover in 12 years. It will all start rolling out in the coming weeks and months. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Quince. Have summer travel plans? Join me in getting a first-class quality luggage set, but with an economy price tag. I just got Quince's carry-on suitcase in a really cute light blue color, and I adore it. Not only does it look super stylish, but also the features are perfect. Interior compression panels, removable laundry bags, high-performance 360-degree spinner wheels, so I move through the airport with ease, and a TSA-approved lock, just to name a few of the features. Not to mention the price tag. Many reviews compare it to much more expensive options for a reason. In fact, whether it's luggage, clothes, shoes, or bags, Quince has great options that are priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. So treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/newsworthy for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/newsworthy to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/newsworthy. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. A giant mass of matted brown seaweed is headed toward Florida beaches. In fact, some has already washed ashore in Miami. Scientists announced last week that the total amount of sargassum in the Atlantic was 40% higher than the previous all-time high set in 2022, and the seaweed mass is expected to get even larger over the next couple of months. Crabs, sea turtles, shrimp, and other marine life actually depend on sargassum like this as part of their habitat. But the issue is it rots very quickly once it washes ashore. Then it smells like rotten eggs and can irritate your eyes, nose, and throat. Plus, it's just a nuisance for people who want to walk on the usually white sandy beaches. They become covered in this thick brown algae, and both people and animals can get tangled up in it. Some local governments spend millions of dollars to clean it up, and they may decide to again soon, since a lot more Florida beaches are expected to be impacted this summer, from the Florida Keys to Jacksonville. Thank you so much for listening today and making us part of your daily routine. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.